I can't think of a single startup where the entrepreneurs got together, they had an idea, they got beta customers, they loved it, they built the product, they raised money, they loved it, they got the early majority, they raised more money and went IPO. Like, no, there's always a pivot. You can never have the exact hypothesis of like, what are you building, who are you selling it to, and how are you selling it?
Yeah, I love it. It's a word that's like, we up, but like...
We're pivoting. Oh, great, you're pivoting.
All right, Mark, scenario. Company's doing well. We've got a good amount of customers, but there's an external shift that sort of popped off, and we need to pivot. What do I do?
Well, I'll tell you exactly what to
do. Why do I ask? Why do I even ask?
All right, pivots. Oh, it's so fun. Okay. I think the best work out there on pivots is Buried in the Lean Startup by Eric Ries. Okay, it's in the back half of the book, so I would say 95% of the people who know the work have never gotten to it. So he frames it really well. Let's just do some foundational work here on 5 different types of pivots. Okay, the first one is called the zoom in pivot. And what that means is we tried a whole bunch of stuff and we tried to dump a bunch of different product capabilities. We tried a bunch of different customer segments and we found one. It's like this offering for this customer base and it happens to be $1 billion TAM, total addressable market. So that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna focus there. And that's like extraordinarily common. It's like recommended in the work of science of scaling when you have an initial hypothesis, if it's that specific, to explore on the periphery. Because we just don't know if we're like almost got it right and we want to make sure we hone in on it. So that's extraordinarily common. The other one's the opposite, which is the zoom out pivot. And that usually happens like later in your acceleration time. It almost always happens. If you're gonna build a unicorn, you're gonna have a pretty big product with a pretty big market segment. And to try to build that product for all of those customers in your $0 to $1 million journey is probably too much and boiling the ocean. So you're usually like honed in on a specific market that's going to get you from 0 to 10, takes you 2-3 years if you're humming, and then you're going to do a zoom out pivot, where you either expand the market that you're going after. Okay. All right. The third one is the customer segment pivot. All right. So that means like, okay, we came out and we were targeting a particular type of customer, and we almost got it right, but it turns out like this customer actually likes our product more. Okay, so we're gonna go serve this customer next, right? All right, the fourth pivot is the customer need pivot. And that means like, okay, we came out and we thought we were gonna be solving this problem with this solution, but it turns out that that's not quite a really critical problem. It might be a nice to have. But as we were doing market research with this customer base, we discovered a really important problem. So we have to like shift the customer need that we're focused on. The fifth one is the business architecture pivot. The first 4 were always all about the product we're building and the customer we're serving. There are other elements to a business model, like how do we architect the product? How do we distribute the product? Is it PLG? Is it enterprise sales motion? Is it ABM? There's a whole bunch of different, how do we capitalize are we bootstrapping? Are we, doing venture capital? So there's like this business model, business architecture pivot that we might do. So most pivots fall into those 5 categories. It was actually the 2022 thing. Like everyone's like, oh yeah, we're pivoting. On one hand, it's like, it is necessary, but it's like something that people just like, it went too far. Like as an excuse for like misexecution.
Yeah, I love it. It's a word that's like, we fucked up, but like...
We're pivoting. Oh, great. You're pivoting. Which I don't want to poo-poo too much because it's like, I think it's a huge advantage for the United States. We have this tolerance for failure and pivots. Yeah. People take chances. It's cool. Other cultures don't have that, and it hurts your ability to start great companies and like all that stuff. So there's a huge advantage to it. So I don't want to poo-poo it too much. I also don't want to poo-poo it too much because what's up with poo-poo?
I don't know. I was just about to say.
The poo-poo pivot episode.
Sales is fundamentally changing. AI adoption is separating winners from losers, and the teams that adapt fastest are thriving, while the others are worried about market turbulence. HubSpot's 2025 sales trends presented by the Science of Scaling gives an inside look at how 1,000 sales pros are adapting, growing, and connecting in a shifting business landscape. This isn't just a collection of statistics. It's your guide to what's actually working in the field today. So grab it, read it, start putting it to work immediately. Link is in the description. Beautiful. What are like the mistakes people make though?
Sure.
In any of those five?
Yeah. Okay. So there's three really common mistakes that folks make. The first one is as they start the pivot, they have now like lived in this market and the problem for like a year and a half, whatever, and they've built some stuff, but now they're so much smarter about the market and the problem. If they were to start the company over, they know exactly what they would build. And to some degree, they go out and do that, but they're attached to some of the stuff they already built. So they're kind of like, I know the answer, but we spent a year building this like awesome video product, and I want to include that. And it's like distracting. It's a sunk cost. And you're putting yourself at a disadvantage relative to the brand new company who builds what you know is the right answer, but you're distracted with some of these sunk costs of some of the assets you have. So you really have to like approach it with a clean slate and not build it based on what you have, but build it on the knowledge you have and the vision. The second one is how you handle the current customers and revenue that is no longer in line with your post-pivot business.
Yeah, but I love them.
Why?
I want to keep them because
Why?
they gave me money when I was small.
It is hard because it's like you have this loyalty to them. You want to do good for them. Probably the most valid reason is like you don't want bad reviews or like negative goodwill out there.
Yeah, they're my biggest advocates now.
And another one that's like not as valid, I don't think, is like you don't want to show a dip in your revenue. And unfortunately, that's going to be a massive distraction. And companies just spend too many quality resources, whether that's like hours of an individual or whatever it might be, even like roadmap type stuff, trying to pay attention to the needs of those customers who are actually no longer relevant to your post-pivot business. All right, and then the third mistake is only applicable to the zoom out pivot, which again usually happens when you're scaling. You go from 0 to 10, and then you were focused on a particular type of the market with a particular product, and you want to either build some new product for the existing market, or you want to take your current product and start selling to a new market to support the $10 to $50 million journey. So oftentimes people are over optimistic on how much of their business model fits in the new, let's say, market. Okay, so they're over optimistic that the product they built is going to perfectly suffice the new market. And in fact, there's often significant gaps. Or they assume that the way we sell is going to be optimal for the new market. The messaging, the approach, the way we create demand, the way we run the demo, et cetera. And it's not. And so what we have to do is we have to treat that like almost like a seed stage business again, and create the space with a small team for us to learn what those nuances are, if they exist, and they will, and figure them out as quickly as possible before we bring them to the masses and like eliminate the risk of us like creating a downfall in productivity out of the core business. So those are the three mistakes and a semblance of how you address them. So if we're pivoting away from a revenue stream, briefly what you need to do is, you can't completely ignore them, but like you contain the resources that you're going to dedicate to them. And hopefully it's like 10% or less of your resources. And you just make sure that's the only people that can spend time there. So a classic example is if we're pivoting away from a customer segment, then if my current business model calls for like 50 customers for every customer success manager or customer support person, in my customers from the legacy business, I'm going to have like a 500 to 1 ratio. So it's not like they're like totally ignored, but we're really restricting the resources we spend on them, okay? The other thing we got to do is we got to tell the story right. So unfortunately, when we pivot, and if we're pivoting away from a reasonable revenue stream, revenue might go down temporarily, and churn probably going to be high. And so we just have to accept that. And what we have to do is we have to start segmenting our business in the customers that are no longer ICP from the old business and the customers that are now being signed up in the post-pivot arena. And we have to kind of show at the board meeting or even future investor meetings of like, I know our churn doesn't look great. It's like 23% a year, but it's because we pivoted 14 months ago. And what I want to be careful about is I want to show you that we had this business that was like $3 million that we found out wasn't good. And that's been churning at about 60% a year. And then we pivoted 14 months ago to this other business that has gone from 0 to $4 million in 14 months. And the retention of those customers is like 95%. So you've got to tell the story correctly to prevent that second mistake. All right, so key takeaways. Pivots. They're pretty much a requirement in any startup you do. I've never met a company that came up with a hypothesis for a business product and go-to-market strategy, and that's just the one that scaled. So you've got to learn fast. It's a reality. You just have to avoid the 3 common mistakes we talked about today. The old business model is a sunk cost. Don't try to jam what you've built into your new vision when you have tremendous confidence for your vision. Just go after that vision. Number 2, similarly, don't overinvest good resources toward customers and revenue that are no longer applicable. Contain it and just tell the right story to minimize the impact on your business. And number 3, when you're doing a zoom out pivot, don't be too optimistic that like the current business model that you figured out, the product, the go-to-market strategy, et cetera, is perfectly going to be optimized for the new market as well. Give yourself the space to learn. You know, whatever you want to do, just don't poo-poo pivoting.
Stop the clock.
So that's it for our segment today. Be sure to check out those links that I threw in the description. I hope you appreciate that. Good luck scaling. Happy scaling.